Hello everyone. In today's video, we dive into the latest article by Dr. Turki Faisal Al-Rasheed, published in Arab News. Titled is A Fragile Blueprint for a Shifting Arab World. Before we begin, let me introduce the author, Dr. Turki Faisal Al-Rasheed, a Saudi businessman, academic, and thought leader. As an adjunct professor at the University of Arizona and founder of Golden Grass Inc., he brings a rare blend of vision, expertise, and real-world insight to every article he writes. Dr. Al-Rasheed is also a distinguished author. His upcoming book, Saudi Arabia, Transformation, Uncertainty, and Sustainability, explores the kingdom's evolving economic and social landscape amid global change, offering deep insights into development, resilience, and long-term sustainability.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into something critical. We're looking at a single document, the latest U.S. National Security Strategy, or NSS. And this isn't just some dusty policy paper. It signals a radical, almost tectonic pivot, and it's forcing a massive reevaluation across the entire Arab world.
It is. And I think the first thing you have to recognize about this new NSS is that it's not your typical detailed document. One of the sources we looked at put it perfectly. It's less a roadmap and more of a mood board, a scattered collection of high-level slogans.
A mood board, I like that. But why? I mean, why create something so vague when decades of foreign policy demanded certainty?
Well, because the vagueness is the policy. It's a signal flexibility, but it's a flexibility that's totally rooted in self-interest.
Yeah.
This document basically institutionalizes the America First doctrine. It tells partners that every single relationship is now conditional.
And if you're an ally, that must be terrifying.
It is. That inherent uncertainty, that lack of committed trust. It suggests that decades of security guarantees could just be, discarded on a whim.
And that's really the core of what we're unpacking today. This policy is nothing less than the functional end of the post-World War II order, the one where the U.S. was the global security provider. For the Arab region, which has been so entangled in Washington's orbit, the implications are just profound. So we're going to unpack its three core consequences: the end of U.S. guardianship, the acceleration of a multipolar world, and the blueprint this creates for Arab self-reliance.
And understanding this is vital because the stakes just couldn't be higher.
Yeah.
We're talking about who defends critical choke points like the Strait of Hormuz, what global stability even looks like without a single hegemon, and how import-dependent economies, especially in the Middle East, can secure their future when all the old rules are gone.
Okay, let's jump in with part one. The end of U.S. guardianship. So for, 70, 80 years, Washington cast itself as the guardian of a global order. I mean, think back to the Truman doctrine, the Marshall Plan, the whole Cold War framework. It was all built on alliances, promoting democracy.
That sums violently, yeah.
And critically, military interventions meant to reshape nations in America's image. And this sustained U.S. primacy from Truman right up through Biden.
And the 2025 NSS is an absolute radical break from all of that. It explicitly warns against, and I'm quoting here, dissipating American power in protracted conflicts or misguided expansions. This isn't just a tweak. It's a total philosophical retraction. The new doctrine is stark. Interventions are off limits unless they directly safeguard U.S. borders or the economy.
Directly. So what happens to all the other stuff? The nation building, the pressure for political reform that was once, a hallmark of American diplomacy?
Gone. Dismissed. The strategy basically called those efforts cultural impositions that, crucially, drain American resources that are better spent at home. The geographic focus just narrows dramatically. It's all about the Americas now. The priorities are crystal clear. Immigration control, new trade deals with Mexico and Canada, and countering China, specifically in Latin America.
And the Middle East is now, what?
It's viewed through the lens of optional investment, not indispensable security.
So we've gone from global architect to a hyper-focused border guard. This sounds like foreign policy as a cold business deal. Alliances only last if they're profitable.
That's it, exactly. Loyalty is nice, but a good deal is better. And the problem with treating alliances like a business deal or, a subscription service is that trust requires investment that isn't always immediately profitable. As one analyst in the sweep put it, strategies built on deals alone crumble when crises demand trust, not contracts.
And that's the real fear, which leads us right into part two. This multipolar world the strategy seems to barely acknowledge. Because this is where it gets really interesting. The NSS arrives while the whole world is shifting, but it seems designed to just ignore that. Washington wants to retreat, but the vacuum is being filled instantly.
And you have to understand the sheer scale of these counterforces. I mean, look at China's Belt and Road Initiative. This isn't some small aid program. It spans over 150 countries. It's trillions of dollars going into infrastructure, from ports in Africa to fiber optic cables in Asia. That's massive economic leverage.
And at the same time, you have the BRICS alliance expanding.
Right. When BRICS added major Arab states like Egypt and the UAE, that wasn't just a political statement. It was a huge economic realignment. The sources say trade in local currencies within BRICS is rising by an astounding 20% annually. That isn't just a statistic. It's a direct drain on the U.S. dollar's role as the world's reserve currency. And, it weakens America's ability to use sanctions as its main weapon.
Yet the NSS just calls China the sole competitor, but offers, what, tariffs?
It's a profound mismatch. You can't fight a strategic war with tactical weapons. And as America looks inward, Beijing just fills the void. They're building ports in the Arabian Sea, investing in Gulf AI hubs, and most critically, they stepped in to mediate the Saudi-Iran talks in 2023, something Washington couldn't or wouldn't do. So the result isn't a defeat of the U.S., but a diffusion of its power. The U.S. is becoming one powerful player among many, not the player.
Which is, of course, a classic double-edged sword for the Arab world. On one hand, there are huge opportunities.
For sure. Saudi Vision 2030 is looking at Chinese renewable energy. Egypt is leveraging BRICS for loans without all the political strings attached by the West. It offers autonomy.
But autonomy comes with risk. The vagueness of the NSS forces allies to guess about everything. What if the U.S. gets into a trade war with China? Do their sanctions disrupt global supply chains? That would mean spiking oil and food costs for a lot of these countries.
And that leads to the biggest strategic question of all, especially for the Gulf. Will Washington still defend the Strait of Hormuz with the same vigor? For decades, the reason was energy security. But now the U.S. is energy independent, producing 13 million barrels a day. The calculus changes from vital national interest to, optional protection of global trade. That ambiguity is incredibly destabilizing.
Which takes us right to part 3, how the Middle East is reframed. It's no longer about guarantees, it's about investment opportunities.
The shift is just unmistakable. The region is now a partnership zone. It's about co-investment, not conflict. Iran's nuclear program and its proxies are actually downplayed in the NSS. They're seen as diminished threats. And since the U.S. doesn't need Gulf oil, the military footprint shrinks. Troop levels are dropping.
So the U.S. is shifting from being a protective customer to, an eager venture capitalist. The new focus is on Arab states as co-investors in things like nuclear reactors in the UAE, AI data centers in Saudi Arabia, drone tech in Jordan. It's not about crude oil anymore. It's about securing tech and investment deals.
It's transactional, efficient, and, on paper, less costly for the U.S.
Okay, I have to challenge that a bit, because the sources are very clear that this transactional approach glosses over huge perils. I mean, can we really talk about efficiency when no single factor has accelerated America's moral decline faster than its role in the Gaza crisis?
That's a critical point. The Gaza situation was the ultimate stress test for this deals-based model, and it failed spectacularly. UN estimates suggest that from October 2023 to late 2025, Israel's campaign claimed over 40,000 lives. And it was enabled by over $20 billion in U.S. arms and consistent vetoes at the UN.
That sheer number, plus Washington's ironclad support, was seen across the region as pure hypocrisy. It branded the U.S. as a partner that prioritizes allegiance over any humanitarian principles.
And the numbers back that up. U.S. favorability in the Arab world plummeted to a low of 15%. I mean, that rivals the lows you see for countries like Iran. This isn't just a moral issue. It's a strategic collapse.
So what does that collapse mean geopolitically?
It means Washington's status as a broker is shattered, probably beyond repair. The Oslo framework was already on life support, but Gaza didn't just end it, it cremated it. U.S. leverage is gone. So regional crises, whether it's the Houthis in the Red Sea or clashes in Lebanon, they just metastasize because the U.S. isn't seen as a credible mediator anymore.
So the conclusion seems inescapable. Faced with a fickle superpower and a polarized U.S. Congress, Arab states simply must find their own way.
Exactly. And this is where the sources all point to the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC, as the practical model for the whole region.
Let's focus on that Gulf blueprint then. The sources say it rests on three pillars of self-reliance.
The first pillar is what they call diversified alliances. It's basically a sophisticated hedging strategy. They're weaving this complex web of ties so they're never dependent on one power. They're working with China on infrastructure, Russia on oil, India for tech talent, even Turkey for mediation.
And we see that in their military purchases too, right?
Absolutely. They hedge against any single supplier. You'll see US F-35s alongside French Rafale. But the most important part of this is diplomatic de-escalation. The defining moment was that 2023 Saudi-Iran détente, brokered by Beijing. That just shows the strategic shift away from confrontation.
Okay, and the second pillar is economic resilience. The pace of internal reform there is just staggering.
It is. The goal is to survive a post-oil future. We've seen Saudi women's workforce entry double to 35%. In the UAE, non-oil sectors are now 50% of GDP. And these huge projects, like NEOM, are all designed to tackle youth unemployment and build high-tech economies. They're pivoting from rentier states to investment states.
And the third pillar, which is just as vital, is food and water security.
This is a pure survival issue for them. The innovation is incredible. We're talking about massive vertical farms in Qatar that yield 10 times the crops with minimal water. Desalination plants in Oman process 80% of the country's needs. And crucially, they're forming regional pacts like the Arab Food Security Initiative to pool investments and create a collective shield against supply shocks.
So this Gulf blueprint, the hedging, the resilience, the unity, this is what the sources say merits Arab-wide adoption, turning shared vulnerabilities into shared strengths through integration.
The vision is really ambitious. A true pan-Arab economic union, building on the Arab League to harmonize trade, standardize tech, and pool resources.
Just imagine the potential joint ventures if that happens.
Exactly. You could have Egyptian solar powering Jordanian greenhouses or Moroccan phosphates fertilizing Iraqi fields, all facilitated by shared infrastructure. That kind of integration builds a stability that no single nation can achieve on its own.
And that's really the final synthesis here. The new American doctrine, with all its America First slogans, it might rally people at home, but it invites chaos abroad. For the Arab region, the message from these sources is loud and clear. Rely less on a fickle Washington and invest more in each other.
And by emulating the Gulf's pragmatism, blending Western security with Eastern economics, and focusing on internal innovation, Arab states can defy this volatility. In this fractured era, the Arab world doesn't need to follow America's map. It has every reason to draw its own.
We've explored this massive pivot in U.S. foreign policy and the pressure it puts on allies to shift from guaranteed security to contracted self-reliance. The source material highlighted the danger that strategies built on deals alone crumble when crises demand trust. So the question for you is this. If trust is the true currency of long-term stability, which emerging global alliance, be it BRICS, the GCC, or another, is currently investing most heavily in that deep non-transactional trust, and what kind of long-term geopolitical stability will that eventually buy them? Thanks for joining us for this Snoop Dive.
As we conclude this discussion, we return to the vision expressed by Dr. Turki Faisal Al-Rasheed, a vision rooted in clarity, innovation, and a deep commitment to shaping a more stable and interconnected future. For the full article, you can find the complete details in the description below or visit www.arabnews.com. And to learn more about the author, visit www.atifrasheed.org. If this video gave you insight or inspired your thinking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more discussions like this. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay curious, and see you in the next video.